Thank you, PJ. It is indeed time for another edition of the Pair and a Spare podcast. I'm Justin Gaard, and no, I have not become the baseball coach at the University of Minnesota, even though that's what it looks like here. As I am on campus today from KFAN Radio, we've got Chip Scoggins from the Minnesota Star Tribune and Ryan Burns from GopherIllustrated.com about to head on an exotic vacation to Wisconsin to visit some family coming up just moments after we sign off. Merry Christmas, boys. Happy early New Year. How's everybody doing on whatever the hell day this is?
I'm doing well. I'm curious, as the man who owns a snowblower here and is very thankful to own a snowblower, how are your shoulders feeling after 8 inches of snow dumped on both of your driveways?
Mine, I don't know how much we got in Woodbury. It didn't seem like 8 inches. I will say I did it in shifts, and I have the two boys home, so they got the end of the driveway part. But I did. My daughter had to fly home to New York City on Monday as it snowed all night, and we had to get up at 2:30 in the morning. I was driving to the airport at 2:45 in the morning, and I'm sure I'm out there shoveling the driveway so it doesn't get packed down when I drive over it at 2:30 in the morning. Mm-hmm. It wasn't bad. It was light by then, so it wasn't. It certainly wasn't the worst.
Didn't do the end of the driveway and use the free.
Free labor. Yeah, I told the boys, it's like, you got to get where the plow comes through. That's your part.
I'm looking forward to that day. My kids actually like shoveling too, so they handled it. It was fine, Burnsy. We're all good. We're Minnesotans. Yeah, like this stuff doesn't rattle us. We don't need mechanical help. I didn't realize, I'm sorry that we all don't have, mile-long driveways like you. We just have kind of a normal
here in Roseville.
Driveway. Yeah. So we're good. And in full disclosure, I was in Bloomington, Indiana, so I didn't have to. So there's no problems there. There is still a little bit of snow. When it's something like that, I usually go, we're not doing the whole driveway. We're doing, especially like at some point, if you look at the forecast and it's going to go away, I'll be like, we're going to do enough to get the cars in. Mm-hmm. And then why be a hero? There's no reason. I don't need a perfectly manicured driveway. I'm not, which I'm sure my neighbors really appreciate. As I was driving home last night, I'm looking at all their just like perfect driveways, either plowed or snow blown, and then there's ours that have been shoveled by a 9-year-old. Not quite the same. Not quite the same. But I'll tell you what, I wondered where my life went wrong on whatever day that was, Sunday, when we got the big snowstorm. And 24 hours before that, I was staring at mountains and sun and a pool and playing catch with my children outside. I wondered where it all went wrong after our lovely trip to Phoenix, Burnsy. Did you have that same sensation as you came back to Minnesota and the tundra that awaited us?
Yeah, going from the rolling hills, or even your favorite mountain, which is Camelback, which I know you were just going out to and seeking refuge in every single day for the 2-week vacation that you did take out there at the VRBO, 9-bedroom, 8-bath, the pickleball court, whatever else. Mm-hmm. And all he was doing the entire week was, Chip knows this, sending us photos of how luxurious this thing was. And people got to see it on the last episode. Again, Justin's a man of the people. He adapts. So I miss it quite a bit as I stare out here and look at all the freaking snow now. But yeah, you missed a good time out there in Phoenix, Chipper.
Yeah, the game was interesting. I wish I could enjoy that weather. This, as I told you a couple of episodes, this might be the one for me, boys. I mean, this might be the one that sends me south. So
I don't know what you're waiting for. The second we can do it, we're doing it. Like I was looking at how long has the Arizona State play-by-play man been involved, and then I said he's been there a while. I don't know if they have a guy in waiting for them. Tucson, another longtime guy, he's got to be hanging it up soon. Like I'm out of here as soon as I can. Row the boat, Sky Umago, Gophers. I'm going with Kenny Dillingham in Arizona.
I want water involved in my next.
Yeah, that's fair.
Water is going to have to be involved. The beach, have my eye on a place. A little bit longer wait, but eventually it'll get there.
Oh man, yeah, it's time.
I can see the finish line.
Yeah. All right. Well, we look forward to that. We look forward to doing Parent to Spare on Tuesdays.
You look forward to me being gone.
No, just doing the Parent to Spare wherever you are. I can't wait for it because you're still going to have to do this. You can't
that's right.
From the podcast. There's no because college football is your hobby, so it's not like you're going to be disconnected.
Yeah,
we're gonna need you. All right. Should we talk about the game? Speaking of temperatures, did you start cramping in the press box, Burnsy? It got a little humid in the old Chase Field, Thunderdome. And the 20,000 Lobo fans, I'm inflating, but not by much. Interesting game is I think the right way to put it. I thought it was a fun game. The environment was fun, thanks to the Lobo fans and obviously the Gopher fans over there. But the Lobo fans took advantage of the first bowl game outside of their home state in a really long time, and I thought actually made it a fun, random bowl game atmosphere, even if it was a little steamy in Chase Field, more than we maybe bargained for.
We talked about 4 years ago, like, why did they open the roof when it was raining to let the skydivers come in? For this one, Guardsy, my question to you is, why didn't they open the roof? Because that was a beautiful 70-degree sunny day in Phoenix.
Right.
Yet because they had left the roof closed, it started, as you said, I think I ran into at the elevator at halftime. It was steamy up there, man. Golly, I felt like I was watching Luis Gonzalez round third base in the middle of the sun. Golly.
You should have had the tank top going there, Burnsy.
Yeah, I had the guns out. Should have been.
Yeah, I was definitely hydrating. I did text you. I said, how's your body for podcasting doing in its humidity? And you had just talked about it. You said in the press box. You had just talked about how warm
I turned
it was.
to Andy Greeter, the Pioneer Press, and was like, anybody else get a little flush up here?
It's tough conditions. Yeah. But the game, let's talk about the game because really it's like we always say, it's an exhibition game. It's better to win than lose. To me, it's the Smiths game. It's, both of the Smiths, and they both won the MVP. It's Anthony Smith. It's Jalen Smith. They were both pretty dominant. Jalen with the walk-off after, the second ridiculous catch that he made. Anthony obviously, proved why he's not playing in the Mountain West, and he's playing in the Big Ten, and will someday be playing in the National Football League because he was at a different level than everybody else on that field, certainly for the Lobos. What were your takeaways from the Rape Bowl itself, Burnsy?
I felt like it was a microcosm of the entire season where it's a game where Minnesota wins, but you feel frustrated the whole time watching it. Does that make sense? Where you're happy that they won because I'd rather cover a team that wins than loses, and everybody's in a better mood in the locker room afterwards. But you watched it for 3 hours or 60 minutes of game time, and you're thinking to yourself, it hurts the entire time watching it because they could never at any point this season for 60 minutes on offense, defense, and special teams ever put it together. Now, the beautiful part about that statement is they still went 8-5 with that, but you get the defense who plays well. The offense does what they've done too many times this season, which especially up front, I mean, you got pushed around by a Mountain West. Look, they were a good Mountain West defense, and I have a lot of respect for what the defensive coordinator, Spence Nowinski, if that name sounds familiar to some listeners, he's Minnesota Mankato lore. That's where he got his roots. Or even Jason Eck, I think, does a really good job, and there's a reason why we talked about him for the Wisconsin-Madison job. Probably in 10 months' time, I think both of those guys are power 2 level type of coaches, but the offense just continues to sputter. And that game changed after Darius Taylor takes it off the left side. It's 14-6. New Mexico's got 28 yards in the second half, Chipper. Yeah. And then Minnesota kicks it middle of the field at the goal line to the first team all Mountain West kick returner who they hadn't kicked to all day. And the young man runs straight as far as he can for 100 yards, looking like Usain Bolt, and the game changes on his head. Now, Guardsy and I were there. Before I get any further into this, Chip, you got to see it from afar. What'd you think?
Yeah, the kick return. He didn't even make a cut. He didn't break a tackle. He just ran straight down the field, which you just don't see that often.
Jason X said it was like practice. It was like how he did in practice in his postgame. Yeah.
It was as easy as, I mean, he's a fast guy, but man, they did not make him work for that one. My thoughts were, I thought early on, I thought Drake Lindsey looked like a quarterback who hadn't played in a month.
Yes.
I don't think he was seeing things clearly. I thought his timing and everything was off. He settled in. You're right about the offensive line. Just that's got to be a major emphasis this offseason to upgrade that group, because it just, to me, that it just prevented him from ever being consistent on offense, whether it's running game, whether whatever. You're right about Anthony Smith. What was the quarterback's name? Lane?
Jack Lane.
Jack Lane.
He, it looked like he was shot putting the football for one. His mechanics were weird, but I think Anthony Smith got in his head because he could not hit anything. Even the one late where they get the PI over there, that ball was uncatchable, and I think he was throwing that away, or it looked like he was throwing away, but he was wild. And I think Anthony Smith just absolutely got in their quarterbacks' heads, and with his ability to get pressure and basically just wrecked the entire offense. So, it was a weird game, interesting game. It wasn't dominant. I mean, they had some dominant performances. My takeaways were Jalen Smith. We saw in the limited time we got to watch preseason camp, like the kid just jumped out, like, holy cow, they were throwing bombs to him. Like, and PJ said, people are, what was this quote? People are going to know about him pretty soon.
Something like that. Yeah.
I mean, he's a freshman, so maybe you shouldn't expect, consistently, big plays like that, but I want to see him take that, go into this offseason, really say, you know what, I could be a number one.
Right.
Wide receiver number one. I can be a big part of this offense. I can be a big time player in the Big Ten and come back with that mindset. I hope he makes a big jump, because I think in terms of just pure talent, like, that guy has it, right? The speed, those two catches were absurd. The first catch, I would say 50-50 pass and catch in terms of credit. The second one, I think Drake just kind of threw it up into traffic, and Jalen went and made a play for him. But Jalen Smith, I think, has the potential to be a special player. So I hope he takes that big. Burns, you talked about the young guys developing. He's high on that list in terms of coming back and really taking a big jump in his development.
Yeah, just for this game, even specifically, they needed somebody to step up, because Lemeke Brockington opts out. Malachi Coleman's not there. Kenrick Lanier's not there. I think 4 of their top 6 guys from this season didn't play. So when you're left there with guys like Javon Tracy, Jalen Smith, and Logan Loya was there too, but you needed somebody to make some plays. And those were the type of plays that as you mentioned, Chip, we were seeing in fall camp, catches away from his body, where in September, you'll remember he had the freshman yips with a month to prepare. It seemingly they got this confidence where it needed to be, makes 2 of the best catches you'll see. But I also do want to talk about Drake, where, Drake was not good. Drake somehow in that game did not throw an interception, which was
should have had 2 in the first quarter.
Should have had 2 in the first quarter. Yeah.
You could probably pick 4 throws where that should have probably been a pick, and they weren't. And so I think he's fortunate to have some luck there on his side. But then you also look at those 2 touchdown throws where, I coined that first one, Lucky the Leprechaun with the rainbow pot of gold at the end there. You couldn't throw that ball any better in terms of just looping it up, rainbow back corner of the end zone where only your guy could get it, or even the touchdown one. I know a lot of people like, well, why didn't he throw it to the tight end? Well, it's because he had a guy directly in his face blocking the view of the tight end, throws it off his back foot, right to Jalen Smith, who cuts in front of the safety. So if that's what it looks like for Drake Lindsey, where you look up at the end of the day, and now box scores don't always tell the story, and they don't in this one, where Drake still completes like 63% of his passes, couple touchdowns, ends his season with 18 passing touchdowns and only 6 interceptions.
Yeah, the start, I am going to chalk up to a guy who hadn't played in a month. I just felt like there was rust and he wasn't seeing it. And he made a couple throws. You're like, man, he just threw it right to the defense. I was like, what, they should have caught those. Mm-hmm. But I think once he got back into game rhythm and game kind of mode, he was, he made obviously some great throws. I would call his season B+, A maybe, B+. I think B+ is fine.
Sure. Which is
the
good.
Iowa, which is great for first time. Obviously the Iowa was the worst game and got rattled there. But we talked about it all season. The lack of turnovers. And is it 6, Burns, you said?
Yeah, only had 6.
For a freshman quarterback, and I could look up his attempts. Guard, you maybe look at for the number of times he threw the ball and only had 6 interceptions. Now, you're right; it could have been more, but this is what he wound up with, 6.
Yep.
That to me is the most impressive thing, is that he didn't, outside of the Iowa game, really make the backbreakers. He didn't put the ball in harm's way a lot. And so
right.
there's a really good foundation for him to build on and coming back next year. I just thought it was a really good season for a first-time quarterback in the Big Ten.
Especially when they had all the issues around him that Burnsy has talked about, right? The offensive line, even, the game in Phoenix, it didn't matter who was playing right tackle. Was it number 1 for New Mexico? If he wasn't offsides, he was going to sack the quarterback, and he was going to put pressure on. And we talked about receivers all year long, right? Jalen Smith, makes contested catches finally, right? That didn't happen a ton. That happened a little bit at the end of the year with Northwestern with Javon Tracy. Darius Taylor's not healthy for most of the year. AJ Turner's not healthy for pretty much all of the year. Your top 2 running backs. It's Drake did all of that with everything that I just mentioned. Mm-hmm. Like, can we think about a world where he doesn't have to deal with every single one of those issues and can just play quarterback and just be who he is and not have to overcome a shaky offensive line, no running game, receivers that can't get open on man, receivers that can't make contested catches? Could be pretty special if they could figure all that stuff out, Burnsy.
And that is now the project for Greg Harbaugh, because I do anticipate both Greg Harbaugh, the offensive coordinator, and Danny Collins, the defensive coordinator, coming back. Is how do you continue to tweak your respective sides of the ball? Because you figured out the hardest piece to have, and that's Drake Lindsay, and that is the quarterback. Now it's, what do you do at running back? Because I feel very good about Darius Taylor coming back for 2026. I know he hasn't addressed it publicly. We asked him out in Phoenix. He said he hasn't made a decision yet. We'll see what news comes here in the coming days. But you've got to, you're losing the top 3 running backs, or behind him, we'll see what AJ Turner is coming off the knee surgery. But you've also got to find some portal receivers. You got to find a portal right tackle. You've got to get the scheme better. You got to coach better. There's a lot of different things that go into this, but you figured out the hardest thing. And that's where in now what will be year 4 of Greg Harbaugh, it's going to be that running game, because they absolutely stunk in the running game. Now, when Darius was healthy, in the 4 games that he got, I think 20 carries, Minnesota ran for 100 yards or more, or at least Darius did in each one of those games. Having an all Big Ten caliber running back really helps. And a healthy Darius Taylor, like we saw against New Mexico, really helps, because Darius forced a season high in missed tackles. Like, he looked like a Big Ten running back against what was the number 1 Mountain West run defense. But it's just trying to get it to come all the way together. And that's offensive line, receivers, running backs, quarterback. I mean, there's a lot of pressure, I would say, on both Harbaugh and Collins to deliver here in 2026 as the young coordinators that they are. But again, on offense, you've got the quarterback. Now it's give him some weapons, give him an offensive line, and let's see what this thing looks like.
All right, let's talk about the other Smith, Anthony, who had a big game and then made the announcement that he was coming back. You start thinking about who's potentially coming back for this defense. I know they've got some holes to fill, and Burnsy, you'll talk about that, but a lot of big names coming back for this defense, we think, right? When it's, John Nestor and obviously Anthony Smith. We'll see what Coy decides to do. The other thing we should mention about Darius real quick is he did say in Phoenix that it's next level or Minnesota. He said the portal's not an option, which I think is important to get out there, even though I've never really thought it was an option for him. But to get Anthony Smith back, I mean, that would have been a hell of a walk-off. Say, hey, thanks for everything. Yep. We'll see you on Alumni Day. I'm heading to the National Football League, but that's a huge win. And I think it does. I'm not going to rant about it today because I'm too tired. And I've got too much stuff going on. But like, can we stop with the every good player is going to go to the portal thing? I'm not saying they're never going to lose a player that they wanted to keep, but I think we have enough evidence now where like they're going to step up financially and pay these guys. People do seem to like it. You heard Anthony talk about how much he actually liked the program, which I know people think is impossible in 2020. You can actually like where you are, whether it's Minnesota or somewhere else, that you can actually enjoy being with your coaches and your teammates and playing for a team in a school. It is possible in 2025, 2026. I'd like to put that narrative just to bed for a while, that good players are going to stick around here if they find them and they pay them and people actually like it here a little bit. So, of course, they're going to lose guys, but I think this is another example of this guy could easily just say, I'm out, I'm leaving, I'm going somewhere else, make a lot of money in college or the pros. And he's coming back for one more year, which I know he's not volunteering. I know they're compensating him well too, but it's just how much more evidence do we need before we just stop with the laziness in October?
Chip, I'll let you take it first.
Yeah. I mean, this guy might make over $1 million next year. So it's not like they're going to, they're not giving him anything. And my guess is he probably is between rev share and NIL. I think for Smith, two things. I think he can increase his draft value by backing this up, right? Back in the season he had up, and put some dominant performances against the top tier teams on tape. Like I looked at it, I don't know, he made much of an impact at Ohio State. Nobody did in that game. But those teams, Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, have a dominant performance against guys that are going to be playing in the NFL, and just kind of back this season up with another dominant performance. And he could be he's going to make a lot of money in the, the draft process where he's taken. So, I mean, it's good for the program. Obviously, I mean, you're starting out with an all Big Ten caliber defensive lineman. He's going to make a lot of money here. And I think it's a chance for him to improve and enhance his draft stock for next year.
I'm just glad that he's coming back for another 13 games, because that performance in Phoenix was among the best single game defensive performances I'll watch over the next. I mean, I've been doing this 15 years. 4 tackles for loss in a bowl game is the most in Gopher history. The 2 sacks tie the record. And I would even argue the 2 pass deflections, including the one with a minute left on 3rd down that deflects the pass at the line. If he doesn't get that, that is a completion, and that's probably a 1st down. And with New Mexico's kicker, who has missed 1 kick all year, what's that like? He probably walks off Minnesota. So it's one of the best performances you'll see. But Chip hit it right on the head. I talked about it with Anthony in Phoenix, and he recognizes it, that the next step for him is, in his words, he wants to be a, quote, true game wrecker. And he wrecked games, and I would argue probably 8 of these, and probably they were all 8 wins. But you look at the Ohio States or the Iowas, or even when they went to Northwestern and he went against an NFL caliber offensive tackle, it wasn't there. When he went against offensive tackles who won't be playing on Sundays, he absolutely destroyed them. So now it's okay. For the mediocre to average offensive tackles, I look fantastic, and I earned every part of that first team All Big Ten. Now it's in 2026 with a different position coach and CJ Robbins. It's how do I now take the next step to every single Saturday, or whether it's a Thursday night, Friday night, whatever it may be, how do I impact the game? Now, the thing for Danny Collins is going to be Anthony Smith wasn't going to be sneaking up on anybody in 2025. Well, he's certainly going to be front and center for every single game plan in 2026. Now, it helps to have guys like Carter Menz and John Nestor, Kerry Brown, Maverick Baranowski coming back. But that's the other part of this equation is who the heck is playing next to Anthony Smith?
Yeah.
That's what I was going to mention, Birds. He's like every Monday or Sunday when teams sit down to start game planning, top of the whiteboard is Anthony Smith. How are we going to block him? So this is his next challenge. I mean, that's when you become an all Big Ten player or whatever, any sport, when you automatically go to the top of the scouting report, you have to know that, and they've got to figure out a way. He's going to get doubled. You know, he's going to get chipped. He's going to see a lot thrown at his way. So he's got to go in knowing, okay, I have to work on it this offseason. I have to anticipate it. How am I going to make an impact? So, but it's a nice place to start for Danny Collins in that defense when you know you have him as your anchor.
Or even just getting Maverick Baranowski back, who I feel like I need to give. Like, he was fantastic out in Phoenix too. 17 total tackles, flying around the field, second most in bowl game history. Like, you've got pieces on this defense to be really good, but then you've also got places where it's like, what in the world are we going to get? I mean, namely defensive tackle, where your top 4 defensive tackles are all graduating. So it is a fascinating next couple of weeks for Danny Collins to say, okay, we have these pieces. And to Guardsy's point, I know there's going to be a lot of comments saying, well, what's up with Coy Parrish? I think Coy's trying to figure out what's best for him. Now, I still think it's more likely than not that Coy Parrish is back here at the University of Minnesota. But again, I don't think that is something that's been wrapped up like some of these other guys have been. But it's trying to get a defensive line, specifically a defensive tackle room, that can hold up against some of these offenses next year, like Indiana and many others. So it is a fascinating next couple of weeks to see how they actually strike in the portal.
Apologize for that. Burnsy, what do you think the percentage of those holes are filled portal versus whoever they have coming in or on the roster that just didn't play this year?
That's a great question. I mean, you still have some guys at defensive tackle that played this year, like Riley Sunrum, like Jalen Hicks, that you can hopefully in their third years now in a program be able to contribute at a high level. But I also think Minnesota knows that if you were to say, I don't know, rank the defensive players coming back on this roster, that you're probably not going to have many defensive tackles on the roster right now that have played in that top 8, say, which means you got to go from outside the room. Now, the beautiful part is you should have a little bit of a budget there, considering you don't have to pay Devin Easter and Jalen Logan Redding and others, but there are guys on the internal that they like, but I also think they want to, as they continue to do every year with Fleck, you want to raise the floor at least. Now, I would love to see them be able to swing and hit a home run with some ceiling guys at defensive tackle, but just like in the NFL free agency, like you guys know, everybody needs a really good defensive tackle. And so the price on those guys is always going to be high.
Well, and that's the other thing about, with Anthony coming back. I mean, I'm just guessing. I don't know, but I'm guessing he's $1 million player for him.
I think that's a fair assumption to make.
And I have to imagine the quarterback's $1 million player. We'll see what Coy does, but Darius Taylor, that, they have some, as every team should, your best players are going to get a lot of money. So, but as we saw with Indiana, I would just devote the resources to trenches. I mean, I think that's where they got. I mean, obviously they went out and got a quarterback and spent a lot of money there, and he became a Heisman. But anybody who watched Indiana play Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game saw that they got a lot better along the trenches. That's, right. I mean, they were Ohio State's defense in front is really good, and Indiana was right there and imposed. They won that. They won that matchup. So obviously, it's less expensive if you can do it from internal.
Yep.
But you better be right on your recruiting then. So, Guardsy, I want to pose a question to you.
Oh, good. I'm ready.
Do you see how he treats me, Chipper? Do you see this disdain for me already?
Well, if you would have just done it,
if I would have just done it from Kenosha,
if you'd have done it from Kenosha, we would be, yeah.
Golly. So,
go ahead. Ask a question.
I have for you is it's 8-5. It's the same record as last year. Now, it feels a lot different, even though the win-loss record, when people look back 10 years and memories start to fade, will look the exact same. But what type of emotions, or how do you kind of view the season that was, knowing that this team won 8-5 with all, like every single week, like we talked about all season, it was a roller coaster. You're out there in Shakopee at Valley Fair. So how do you view it?
Where Jason Eck vacationed when he was a Division II football coach, as he told us at Media Day. Nice of you to show up for New Mexico's Media Day, Burnsy, by the way. There were 2 teams playing. Guardsy and Randy Johnson were there. Got a lot of great content. Got a lot of great stuff for our verticals. How do I view this season? Actually, I think we've kind of talked about it throughout the year. I think this season makes me more annoyed about last season.
Yeah.
When you think about it, and I know that PJ said it all year that they were not very good in one possession games. It's too bad that they, you think about like the North Carolina game last year, and what other games am I missing? The Iowa game, Rutgers for sure. Like that was it. It was too bad that you had an NFL quarterback, which they might have one now. I think they probably do, Drake Lindsay. Mm-hmm. So this season to me was fine, given that you were starting a freshman, but now I think this season's over, and now it's time to go, and let's see it go to a different level. And I don't even know what the next level is, but it just feels like it needs to feel different. I don't know if they're going to win more than 8 games next season, but it needs to feel like you're closing the gap between, because you look at this season, 3 of the road games, 2 of them are against Oregon and Ohio State, completely non-competitive. The Iowa game was non-competitive, but that was also just a gong show. Like, I don't even know if Iowa's that much better than Minnesota because of how the first 10 minutes went. Like, that might sound like a stupid thing to say, but they were so bad that game so early that I have no idea. Do I think Iowa probably beats them by a couple of touchdowns? Yeah. I don't remember what the final was, 41-3. You need to close that gap, because you look at what Iowa's done to their rivals, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Nebraska the last 3 years. Yeah. Has not been close. I mean, they have just completely owned them. If everyone's like, why is Ferentz still coaching? It's like, wouldn't you? He's kicking everybody's ass that he's supposed to. And they love the 8-4 down there, and they're in Tampa right now living their best life, where they've been 7 times in 20 years or whatever it is. So I thought the season was fine. I think Chip's grade of Drake is an accurate grade. I thought being B+ is good. If I would have gotten B+ in my freshman year of college, I wouldn't have gone to 5 of them, and I'd have a degree. So I think it was a good season in that regard. And now the way I'm going to view this season is, where does it take you moving forward with guys that you think are they've got a lot of pieces coming back. We think they've got pieces, guys developing. We think, and it's time to take that next step. And that's so vague, and that really means nothing. Everybody always says that. There's a different level. I guess what my next step would be, I want to see the gap closed with the top teams. I want to see the gap closed with Iowa. We can talk about their schedule maybe down the road, but and I want to see them keep take advantage of this unique opportunity you have, where you think you have a dude at quarterback, and that has not been the case. And actually, what do you think about this, Chipper? Because I have been thinking about it this way, and I'm glad I just reminded myself of it. Glenn Mason always talks about the year he got fired, and that was just like 2 days ago in 2006, Texas Tech meltdown. And he had a quarterback redshirting that year named Adam Weber, that he thought was going to be, and actually people don't remember what he looks like. He looks like that. That's Adam Weber if you're looking at the screen, he's on the right. I don't know who that weird guy is next to him. That's one of the prettiest man.
How did you what?
It's just right here and all my little stuff over here.
He's a pro. He's a pro.
We got a lot of stuff. And for people listening on the podcast, I just threw up a picture of like 7-year-old Burnsy with Adam Weber. Not to be confused with Randy Byrne here, who we still have not heard from.
Why are all these like top of mind red? This is
because they're just on the software. Don't worry about it. I'm pretty sure Randy Byrne's in the Epstein report, by the way, and his name's redacted. No one's ever been able to find anything going on with him. What was I talking about? But Mace has said since then, he had Weber sitting there, and he said, now this could all be crap, but Weber had a pretty good career, right? Turned out he was a pretty good quarterback, maybe one of the best they've had in the last 50 years. I think PJ's at that Mason point where We're comparing 8 and 5s, right? Because that's what we were doing back then. We're wondering, is it going to go to the next level? Mace never got to do it with this quarterback that he thought was going to take him to the next level. That's what he always said. With our run game, we had a guy that could do both, could run and pass. Now, Drake can't run and pass, although his stiff arm against Michigan State will tell you differently. I kind of feel like PJ's at that point, like the same Mason point where we're splitting hairs on 8 and 5s, and what are we going to do here? And now he's got this quarterback that might be able to elevate some things. I don't know. What do you think of that analogy?
Yeah. I think it's a good analogy. To me,
at the same time of year 9, year 10, whatever.
Year 10. Yeah, this is going for year 10 with PJ next year. I think for me, it's like less of the unevenness.
Yeah.
Yep, that's good.
We talked about how it was a weird year in terms of the wins versus the non-competitive performances, and I agree with Garzi. The Wisconsin rivalry, that thing is totally changed, right? For years couldn't beat him. What is PJ's record against Ferentz? Is it got 1 win, right?
1 and 8.
1 and 8.
Yeah.
And like you want to see that gap close. You want to see the gap with the top tier guys close. Just less uneven. Where defense, they tackle better, right? Offense, they can run the ball.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you're right in terms of they identified a quarterback that they can go forward with and that they can build on, and that you feel like he has a bright future. Now it's about building out the infrastructure around that player. And so, yeah, it's I think we talked about this a couple of weeks, but the floor is, where they're at is solidly supplanted in the middle of the Big Ten. And can you just have less unevenness from week to week next year than what we saw this year?
The Weber versus Lindsey thing, especially at the point of where these head coaches are at in their 10 years, is something I hadn't even thought about. So I'm glad you brought it up.
Well, I'm here. So is what I hear. I see things clearly, whether it's Bahamas, Arizona, campus. That's why I'm on the podcast. Honestly, it's the same time frame.
It is
10 years. Yeah.
And that's where Grace had it at the same spot where you're like annoyed that you've been to Nashville 3 times, right? People are wondering, okay, when are we going back to Tampa? When are we going to go to Orlando? Like, it's kind of at the same spot. Now, Mace never got the chance. He got fired, which in hindsight was ridiculous when you think about it. And I just think it's an interesting comparison. But go ahead. Sorry to peacock myself here.
Well, I was gonna gas you up a little bit more.
Go ahead. That's fine.
Yeah. Just thinking about that plus Chip, you mentioning, I mean, even just closing the gap with your rivals and the other top teams in the Big Ten, it's becoming more even and continuing to build out the infrastructure around the best young quarterback you've had in a long time. I mean, that is going to be the thing, because you look at the schedule next year, and the actual dates of the games will come out in a couple of weeks yet, but it's not insane where, yeah, you've got some difficult games, like going on the road to face Signetti is going to be a wagon, but you've got a lot of first-year coaches with rosters that we don't know what they're all going to look like yet. I mean, guys like Kyle Whittingham, Matt Campbell. I mean, it's weird to think about those two now as Big Ten coaches, and I mean, we'll continue to talk about it, but it's closing the gap and finding evenness. I think with the young quarterback is a great way to kind of say, what does the next step look like? See, this is why you guys are this is why I am the spare on Parent to Spare. I know my role here.
Close the gap and find the evenness. It's not as catchy as row the boat, but I like it. We can make T-shirts. Close the gap.
We've gone from modern offense. We've checked that off I was screaming about modern offense for years, and I think
they've got a modern offense.
They've got a modern offense now.
Richard Pitino's was fill the tank.
Yeah,
which he never did. Real quick, Burnsy, tell us about the new rush ends coach. He's coming from Stanford, defensive coordinator there. What should we know about that?
Yeah, I'll be curious if there's more staff changes coming too, with the portal opening on Friday. Again, I think there should be some staff changes to continue to tweak this thing and maybe get some fresh voices into the room. But they elevated CJ Robbins, who's think about my age, because he graduated from Northwestern in 2015, but he was the one coaching Jackson Howard and Carter Menz on the edge. They shift him to the defensive tackles and the Anthony Smiths of the world, so he becomes the full-time guy. And they went out and hired, or will be hiring, I should say, Bobby April III. Now, his father was a longtime football coach. Bobby was the outside linebackers coach for Paul Christ for the last 5 years at Wisconsin, so he's got a lot of experience there in that 3-4 outside. Again, just pass rushers right there. He was the Stanford defensive coordinator the last 3 years. They've got a brand new coach in there, so he's looking for work. So being able to hire a guy with a lot of experience, especially when you're losing a guy like Kevin Kane, where I'll pose the question again, have you ever seen a Big Ten staff fire a coach and also have a different guy than hired as a Big Ten defensive coordinator like Kevin Kane was?
Yep.
Very, very odd. Did you think Kevin Kane even sold the house in West Lafayette?
Probably not. I heard you say that on Gopher Gridiron. You're probably not. He was probably renting it out to somebody. You're right.
So they'll have some new guys on defense. The question is, are they going to make some more changes offensively or even on special teams after a couple years where, I mean, one of the things at the top of my wish list is a competent place kicking game where the last 2 years, no team has missed more field goals in the Big Ten than the University of Minnesota. And when you see PJ Fleck punt twice from the 37-yard line because you don't trust your kicker from 52 to 54 yards, I understand it's a different game, but when we're out here watching on a Sunday, these NFL guys make 50-yard field goals now look like layups.
Yeah.
They got to figure out the place kicking game. So we'll see what other changes Fleck decides to make here in the next week.
All right, let's take a quick break. I want to talk Michigan coach when we get back. They stumbled into a badass coach that I think is going to make it pretty successful pretty quickly. We'll talk about that, maybe preview the college football playoff weekend that will be. But we have to thank our great partners at Jack's Cafe, jaxcafe.com. If you're watching at YouTube, you can see on the bottom of the page here, the Pair to Spare podcast is presented by Jack's Cafe. Make your reservations at jaxcafe.com, jaxcafe.com. And shout out to listener Reed, who got a 1971 Gopher goalpost program for Christmas. And it's the Gophers versus Kansas. What's the day here? October 2nd, 1971. And wouldn't you know it, in the Gopher goalpost program, this ad for Jack's Cafe. If anybody's checking out the YouTube channel, you can see it here. And I'm just going to read it because this holds up today as well as anything. Jack's Cafe. I need some music. Burnsy, pull something up on iHeartRadio. Famous for steaks, seafood, and atmosphere. Featuring the beautiful Old World Garden and trout stream. Man-sized steaks with cocktails to match. Live Maine lobster from Jack's Saltwater Pond. Famous lunch and bus service to all Gopher home football games. They don't do that anymore. But look at this, Chipper. Right there. Free parking. Free.
How beautiful is that? Why wouldn't you put that on there? That's beautiful.
Yeah, the logo's great. Exactly. Like I could see Chip, sitting in Memorial Stadium getting ready for the Gophers Kansas game with his kid that went to Kansas going, hey, they got free parking. Should we go? They accept American Express, Diners Club, ATC Carte Blanche, Bank America Card, and Shoppers Credit System. I love the tagline, outstanding in a community of distinguished restaurants. So they're humble about it. They want to bring everybody else in, but they want to let you know how good. And here's my favorite part right here, the number. 789-7297. The same number today. I looked at Jack's Cafe this morning. You got to add 612 now. 612-789-7297. But how about this 1971 ad for Jack's Cafe? And everything except the famous lunch. The lunch is still good. The bus service not there anymore. But how good is that? And it's all true.
Why would you change? Why would you ever change? When you've perfected it, you don't change, right? I love that. And look at that. How much was that program? Was it like 50 cents back then?
It was 49 cents and then sales tax 1 penny. So you had to pay 50 if you wanted to grab this.
It's outstanding. And yeah, thanks for that listener for sending this to us. And it's as great as it was in the 70s, just as great today.
Yeah. Man-sized steak. What's a man-sized steak, Burnsy? Let us know.
Burnsy steak. That's a Burnsy steak.
There's got to be a giant T-bone of some kind. But as someone who just had the steak there a couple of weeks ago, I will continue to put that steak against anything that you can have here in the Twin Cities. So jackscafe.com, gentlemen.
They have steaks for women now, too. They might not have in the 70s, but now women can eat the red meat, too. That's something Bill is very important to Bill. If your wife or girlfriend wants a steak, they can get them, too. Right. But anyway, love that. 1971. And that's like halfway through the Jack's run. Like they're an old restaurant at that point, right?
That's right.
In the 70s. And they've been around, obviously since then. So anyway, I appreciate Reed sending that in. Michigan, they got a grown-up. First of all, call Phil Miller, Chip. I don't know why Utah was in such a hurry to get rid of Kyle Whittingham. I know he'd been there forever. They're about to play, Nebraska in the Vegas Bowl. They've been pretty good, right? Went to a Rose Bowl, like Pac-12 champs. They're solid, but he wasn't ready to stop, and he's 66 years old. He looks like he's 46.
Yeah.
Keeps himself in great shape, and he signed a 5-year contract. And I think Michigan's going to be good right off the jump next year.
Well, we said it last week or last time we did it. I was like, that's the guy I would hire. Like,
yeah,
I mean, he was just for a coach of that. I compared it to like when my Vols went and got a veteran coach. This is what you do. You get a coach who's been there, done that, who's going to bring in order, discipline, all the things that program needs right now. I think it's a great hire for them. They're lucky that Whittingham was available. I don't know. Sounds like there were some just behind the scenes things going on at Utah that they were ready to a new era, which,
okay.
Whatever. Yeah. Hope it works out for you. For my good friend Phil Miller, who's a alum and big fan. But no, I think Michigan landed in a really good spot after a really messy, chaotic time.
It's fascinating that both Penn State and Michigan almost backed into the hires that they should have prioritized right off the
right. You're right. You're so right.
It took Penn State nearly 2 months to figure out that Matt Campbell should have been probably the hire off the bat, or even that Michigan. I mean, we heard the names Kenny Dillingham, Jed Fish, and then it's finally Kyle Whittingham. And I loved what he said in his opening press conference too. And it's very true about the way Utah plays. I mean, they want to be a very physical, tough-nosed brand of football. And that's the way his football teams have played for so many years out in Utah. Mm-hmm. So the question is going to be, how does it all translate over to the Big Ten? I mean, I think that type of football, it's not like we're bringing the Dairy Raid to Madison here, but it's going to be how does he mirror it up with whatever the roster changes will be. But on paper, it is funny to me that both of these schools seemingly just backed in to the guys that should have been priority one off the bat.
What was help me with the timing, if I can remember, his departure officially from Utah match up with what was going on with Michigan? I mean, they couldn't have done it right off the bat, right? Or was he?
I don't remember the timing. I don't know the timing for sure. He was scheduled. He was going to coach the last Utah game.
Bowl game, yeah.
It was probably announced just after the regular season.
Yeah.
It was probably right around there. I mean,
probably same time. Yeah.
Yeah, probably right around there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, he matches up with historically what Michigan has been. I heard Urban Meyer talk about that. He said when it's Bo Schembechler, it's physical, it's run the ball, it's defense. What they just do with Harbaugh, right? I mean,
yeah,
great line play, run the ball, rugged defense. It's what Indiana's doing right now. It's what Ohio State has done. Like it's even with these good teams that have all the talent, it's still about the trenches and the physicality and the mentality. And some of the stories I've read this week about like when Urban was the head coach at Utah and he was the defensive coordinator and Alex Smith was the quarterback. It was like a bloodbath out there. I mean, just a bunch of alpha males just running into each other like battering rams. So, yeah, they landed in a great spot. And from what I heard over the weekend, like they were using a search firm, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
Why does Michigan need a search firm? Why does anybody need a search firm? Respect all the search firms. The Pair to Spare podcast could be a good search firm. We gave you all these candidates 2 weeks ago. And it's not like we were breaking any news. So maybe we should get on that, Burnsy. Why don't you think about that on your drive to Kenosha today?
My time on 94 is some of the most treasured time that I have.
Yeah, I know. What a drive, a beautiful drive, especially this time of year. Yeah, it'll be like they're going to be good. They're going to be very, very solid.
And I do think, we'll see. There's no guarantees, but all these openings in the Big Ten, I think they all landed in good spots with some veteran coaches.
Yep, Fitz is back.
Fitz is back.
Fitzgerald, and then Matt Campbell, Jason Eck next year. I love that guy. It'd be hard to hate.
You became a big fan, huh?
45 minutes. It was just gold. I just loved all of it. Talking about, and I was a total rube too, talking about the Axe game, playing in the Dome.
Yeah.
Randy asked him about his mentors here and coaching, which was great. He gave some great, and then it was the best. Talking about coming up to a Twins game or Valley Fair. That was his vacation. He's like, there's no Disney World when you're a D2 coach. It's just brilliant. It's just, and all my sources in Mankato say he's an awesome guy too, which I like to hear that. And he talked about his staff at Winona. There's like 3 or 4 head coaches now, and a guy that's in the NFL. Like, there's some good football around these parts. There's some good football around these parts. What else did I want to bring up? There was something else about that I wanted to bring up. I can't remember. Got portal season coming up because the portal's like this week, right, Burnsy?
Yeah, officially opens on Friday, and once that happens, guys can start to be on campus, and Minnesota will be hosting guys starting on Friday. Yeah.
All right. I don't really want to preview any of the games. Can we just review them next week?
I don't
have it in me to preview.
You got a busy day. You got like 9 things.
I'd rather, I haven't broken down the all 22. I know you guys haven't either. So I'd rather just not even lie to the audience. Right? Is that a fair assumption?
Right. That's true.
Like, I want to watch the quarterfinals. And it was surreal to be in Bloomington, Indiana, though. And my buddy Austin Render, who does the women's basketball games and helps out with everything else, talking about how he's like, I'm not really sure how good our crowd's going to be tonight because they're a very good crowd.
Yeah.
And he said for men's games, we're like 75% full too because everyone's in Pasadena. It's like, and to see like the Rose Bowl hats in the school store, it's like, what reality I'm in. When our hotel, the Graduate, the room keys are literally, guys from Hoosiers. Like, my room key was Norman Dale. And it's all basketball. And then you're walking around, you're like, this is a football town now. Like, it's my third time for basketball in Bloomington, and it's like the first time where I felt like it didn't even matter to them. Like, it's so crazy. So I'm excited. I'm excited for all the quarters. I think they're all going to be fun games, but let's just watch them and recap them next week. Is that fair?
I'm all for it.
Perfect.
Lastly, Burnsy, how was it?
I'm scared to ask the follow-up question of what are we talking about?
How was your soulless, mountainless view downtown Phoenix hotel?
Oh my gosh, I don't know why you do this to me.
It's fun.
Look, there's plenty
How was your
of
scale environment, the concrete jungle in the beautiful Arizona countryside, where I was mad at myself that I didn't have the whole family stay at the JW Marriott Camelback when I went there for media day, but we couldn't swing that. That wasn't in the cards. So we had to do the Airbnb house. The team hotel, again, was very nice. I tweeted out pictures of that, so nobody cares. How was your downtown Phoenix stay? Do you have any regrets?
No, because we were able to find plenty of stuff to do. Plus, I think Christmas Eve, I sent you guys the photo. We found some pop-up Santa-themed tiki bar where I got to have a rum runner in Phoenix.
There you go.
Yeah. But I think the highlight was almost hearing from a different media member that in Phoenix at a different Christmas, like on Christmas at a different hotel, who walks in and is playing shuffleboard behind him at the bar? Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like Adam Sandler and his family were there. So I don't know if other people got to see him around those parts. No, I'm upset that I wasn't at that hotel for lunch that day.
Me too.
But even hearing the stories about how he's just in like long basketball shorts and he's
what he wears.
Like Adam Sandler apparently always is. I'm glad the bit it's real, Guardsy. It's very real.
And Guardsy, you see Dillingham at a kids' playground, right?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to wrap up with. By the way, then I started texting Greeter every picture I have of my boys who were both Happy Gilmore this year for Halloween.
That's funny.
Like, we had 2 separate Happy Gilmores. I'm like, God, that would have been great. Because I would have, because here was my conundrum. And drop this in the YouTube comments, what I should have done. We were at the Stillman McCormick Railroad Park in Scottsdale, which we've done every time we've gone to Arizona with the kids because it's cool. They've got like an old presidential train car that like 4 presidents used in the, like FDR rode on this train, right? So I'm a nerd. I think that stuff's cool, but it's like a train museum. But then they also have a park and a playground and a train you can ride around with. And we were at the playground with all my nieces and nephews, and I look over, and there's a, kind of a stocky, well-built young man that had a Devil's cap on. I'm kind of like, man, that looks like Kenny Dillingham. Like, that looks a lot like Kenny Dillingham. And then I hear him say, this individual say to his kids, we got 2 more minutes. And I've heard of this guy talk every day for the last 6 weeks because he's met the media every day to talk about the Michigan job, how much he loves Arizona. Someone's got to stroke a $20 million check. And I'm like, it's freaking Kenny Dillingham at the Stillman McCormick Train Park. And so then it became, I told my wife that, and she's like, well, go talk to him.
That's what I said. That's what I texted you.
Well, and that's what I want to know. And I meant to ask PJ about this the next day because I want to know, like, I know what PJ will say. We'll say hi. Yeah. I mean, everybody's a human, one Minnesota. We're all in this together. But I'm sitting there thinking, like, now the guy just signed a contract, $7.5 million a year. He's living pretty good. And he's obviously out in public. So he, knows people are probably going to recognize him, even though he's got the same advantage in Minneapolis. Like, people in Phoenix are just living their life, right? They might not be locked in on Sun Devil football, right? In a big city. And so I did wrestle with it because then I told my brothers-in-law who were there, and they were like, well, you going to go say hi to him? I'm like, no, you rubes. I'm gonna leave him alone and let him be a dad for 10 minutes before he's got to coach in whatever bowl game they're in. So that's my question. Should I have said something? Should I have introduced myself? And what should I have said to him? What should my comment have been to him if I would have introduced myself to him? Burnsy, what do you think?
I think you should have walked up to him and said, because he would have no context of who you are, and been like, so
Correct.
I heard your press conference. I'm ready to strike. I'm ready. I got the textbook in the parking lot. What's your pitch?
Yeah, you had to make it about the money, right? That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, anybody stroked that check yet, Coach? Something like that.
I would have asked for $25 million.
Yeah,
I would ask for $30 million.
Right. I was trying to think. I was going to if I was going to say something, it was going to say, because I'm pretty sure I was like wearing what I'm wearing now. Like, Gopher.
You just say, hey, I'm the Gopher sideline reporter. Justin Gaard, I'm the Gopher side. He would have.
What I would have said is, hey, is your play-by-play job open? Because my old family wants to move here. Can we run this old guy out? I would have, if I would have said something, it actually would have been sincere. It would have been like, I'm glad you stayed.
Yeah.
Because that, you guys know how I feel about that. I talked about it last week from Phoenix. I think, by the way, I saw him like an hour after we did the podcast. Because that's where
it was.
Yeah. And I would have said, I'm glad you're staying. And best of luck. I hope you can find that $20 million check. But he was, helping his kid across the monkey bars. I didn't feel like, that's the time.
For the 2 hours a week he gets to be a dad. I think
Exactly.
It's the best that you let him just get to be dad and not have to know what is on the top of his cap.
And I think he definitely noticed I was staring at him too. It's like,
why is this strange guy looking at me?
Yeah, well, because he is unassuming. He's not this dude he's a shorter guy. So he's not this dude that just screams Division I football coach. He looks like, guy that just had a 9-to-5 in Phoenix and was hanging out, on one of his last couple of PTO days before he had to go back to the cubicle grind. So let me know if I made the right decision, Parent to Spare audience. Would you have gone up and talked to him, or would you do what I do, which is just leave him alone and let him be a dad? Because, I think they traveled to the bowl game like the next day, which I'm sure his kids came. They all come. But anyway, it was a dilemma. So instead of saying hi to him, someone in my family just took a weird picture of me standing and him in the background, because that's normal human behavior. That's way less creepy. It's way less creepy than just saying
scoot over a little bit more.
And his back's to us too, so it's like not even like it could be anybody. But anyway, it was an eventful week in Phoenix. But I'm glad you got your rum runner, Burnsy. All is right with the world.
The other thing I wanted to say is every time I travel, I am reminded, and I don't have to remind you as someone who is just at the airport, I'm convinced 70% of people at an airport on a given day have never been out in society in 20 years.
Yeah, well, on holidays too, you're dealing with a lot of rookies.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, it's tough. Well, that's why Chip gets there 7 hours early, so he can deal with those people. I just love how you told us the time you were driving your daughter to the airport at 2:45. I mean, there's just no way.
I can't believe your daughter didn't just like look at you and say, absolutely.
You should never be driving to the airport at
5 a.m. flight.
Okay. All right.
And not knowing what I said, this could take me an hour to get there, not knowing what the roads were going to be like. And it was fine. I mean, I was expecting
good
blizzard. Don't be on the road. I'm the only one out there, which I was the only one out there, but 2:45 for a 5 a.m. That's not bad.
That's not bad. And you never know.
You never know.
You never, ever know.
3 in the morning, Chip's on 694
going 42 miles an hour in the left
White
lane
knuckled.
with his phone just fully charged.
He didn't even sleep. He was too amped for the drive to come.
All right, fellas. Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Best of luck on January 2nd. Enjoy your drive to Kenosha. Please be safe. Chipper, have a good one. Thanks to Jack's Cafe, jaxcafe.com for your reservations. And we will talk to you next week on the Parent and Spare podcast.